it's Miss Eliza, Children's Librarian at the Waukee Public Library, and I'm here with an elementary Maker Monday craft, which is to make sandpaper prints. So sand is very beachy, going along with our warm summer vacation-y fun themed package for this chilly January. And we're going to be using sandpaper, regular old sheets of printer paper, and crayons to make beautiful prints. We're also gonna need an iron, and so you're gonna need a grown-up's help to get your iron nice and hot and maybe to help you start with the ironing. And for the crayons, we have just this bucket of old, broken up pieces of crayon. It's a really great way to use up crayons that have been kind of worn down, or maybe the paper's off, or they've split in half. It's a really good way to use up all those extra little bits of crayon because they still have really good color, but they get harder and harder to hold and color precisely with. So let's get started. Okay, so to begin, you're gonna take your piece of sandpaper and you wanna use this to color your design in crayon. Now, most of the time when we use crayons, we're trying to be a little like fill in something and be really precise, and this is not the place to do that, because the way that this project works is that the little bits of crayon are gonna stick to this texture in the sandpaper, and it's gonna leave some of that wax behind. And then when we use the warmth from the iron to melt it, that's gonna transfer onto the paper and give us our little printed image. So you wanna make sure that you color really, really hard with your crayon so that you can get a lot on there. So you're gonna really wanna press, and you can see even as I'm coloring, little flakes are coming up on the bottom, and that's good, you want that. If you want your design to be really precise, you might wanna make sure that none of those flakes are touching, like two colors overlapping, because what do you think is gonna happen if we melt it and there's two colors touching? So you're gonna wanna just color in, and you can decide if you wanna do all one big design, or you might wanna cut your paper into littler pieces so you can do a couple different smaller designs. And when you do the transfer, you can even do the transfer a few different times so you can get multiples of the same print. So that's something to think about too. So I'm just gonna keep coloring here. And you can see, again, I'm coloring really, really hard to get a super saturated color. Now is not the time to conserve crayons. You wanna use as much as possible on your sandpaper. Okay, so I've got one that's already ready to go, and you can see I tried to use some lighter colors and some darker colors because I was interested in seeing how those transfer differently or if they transfer exactly the same. So when you're ready and you're happy with your design, you're gonna wanna put it down, and then the paper that goes on top is gonna be the paper that transfers. So you're gonna wanna make sure that your paper totally covers your sandpaper. And you might wanna add another paper or two on top, and these won't get any color on them, but it's just to protect the iron just in case anything runs through. It doesn't usually, but just to be extra safe. All right, and again, you're gonna want a grown-up's help with this. We've got the iron on a medium-high setting. It works on a high setting. You probably don't wanna have it too low because it could take a really long time. So you're just gonna carefully go through with your iron and rub it along the paper just like you're ironing a shirt. Go nice and slow, careful. And you can feel it kind of starts to pucker up a little bit, and that's the wax sticking to the paper, so that's good. And you don't want to stop moving because you don't want anything to burn or get too hot underneath. You want to just make sure that you get a nice steady movement, and you can see it's kind of coming through some of the oils from that wax on my paper. All right, so I'm going to give it one more go round. And then you want to take a peek. Be careful because the papers will be pretty warm. And I'm just gonna look underneath, and I can see that it's transferred pretty well. So the design in the end is kind of this pointillist dot kind of technique that gives the image. It's really cool. So you can see all the texture from the sandpaper as well as the color. And you can see here, I didn't do the top of my little feather or leafy shape very well with the iron. I didn't go over that very well. So that's kind of why you want to peek and check under all the sides to make sure. So don't make the same mistake I did. Kind of take a peek underneath before you pull it all the way up because it can be pretty hard to transfer it back down. All right, so now that we're done with our sandpaper print, I actually kind of like this one that's just on the sandpaper because you can still see the super bright color and pattern, but it's kind of melted so that everything kind of flows together. It's a little bit smoother of a pattern and kind of blended together. And then also this cool pointillist one that shows up because it's nice and bright. And I don't know if you guys can see, but if you're looking through a light, it almost looks like stained glass. So I'm gonna hold this up to a window so that I can show you how cool it looks with the light coming through it, because it really adds to those colors and shapes. So I hope that you have fun exploring your sandpaper print and playing with texture and using up some of those crayons that we're always trying to get rid of. We'll see you for our next Maker Monday. Bye.